In 1975, his chief security officer, Muhammadu Diko Yusuf, popularly known as MD Yusuf, approached him with very specific and credible information about Colonel Joseph Garba. But Gowon didn't believe in the coup story about his right-hand man. However, Yusuf had good reason to be very concerned. In addition to his civilian sources, one or more of the military planners had directly approached him to say that a coup was in the offing. He did not know what to make of such a blunt and sleek, except to conclude that it may have been a sentinel warning to Gowon for old time's sake to make what changes were necessary to avert the overthrow. Yusuf also volunteered to confront Gariba personally about the plot so as to convince Gowon to take action. But Gowon opted to do so himself. Hence, before leaving for Kampala on July 27th, he asked Gariba about it directly, and Gariba once again denied. In response, Gowon reportedly told him, and I quote, "If you are plotting, let it be on your conscience and let it be without bloodshed. I must go to Kampala anyway." End of quote. Anyway. On July 25, 1975, Gowon's wife, Mrs. Victoria Gowon, left Nigeria for London. Her husband had not wanted her to leave until they returned from Kampala, but she insisted, fearing that she might miss the summer sales at upscale London stores. Before Mrs. Gowon left, the Army Chief of Staff, Major General David Akudjejo, also left the country on vacation, as did few military governors. Gowon's official delegation to Kampala comprised of a mix of federal commissioners, state governors, military and police officers, and civil servants. Because Gowon did not share his internal anxieties with others, key elements of his regime were not forewarned to be in a cool, boasting mood. He did not contact army commanders in other parts of the country, did not confine soldiers to the barracks, and gave no clear-cut instructions about what various officers and formations should do in the event of a coup attempt. After the confirmation of the physical presence of General Gowon in Kampala and the location of other key government personalities, the final operations group meeting took place at the Lagos Garrison Organization, then at 3 Kofua Bayo Mu Road, Victoria Island. Among the officers present at the meeting were Joseph Garba, Ibrahim Sayu, Ibrahim Babangida, Abdullahi Mohammed, Paul Talfa, Alfred Aduloju, and Muammar Buhari, among the few others. Orders. Plans for the neutralization of some radio and TV stations in major centers outside Lagos were made, and the latest intelligence revealed the location and movement of key personalities. The commander-in-chief was away in Uganda. The Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters, Vice Admiral Joseph Edet Akinwale Uwe, was no threat because he was a naval officer with no troops and had never had the appetite to fight for power. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Eho, was outside the country. The Chiefs of Air and Naval Staff would be politely informed of the change of government, and the same was to go for the Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Kamsalam. At about 4 a.m., therefore, the pre-agreed outline of a coup announcement was fine-tuned, and Colonel Joseph Narvin Galbra went over to Radio Nigeria to deliver it at 6 a.m. By time zone, Kampala in Uganda is 2 hours ahead of Lagos in Nigeria. In other words, 6 a.m. in Lagos on July 29, 1975, was actually 8 a.m. in Kampala. Gowon, focused on his agenda for the day, was oblivious of what was about to happen. Throughout the crucial hours of July 28, no one contacted the head of state. It was as if he had been leaving and ruling on borrowed time. At the Nile Hotel in Kampala, getting up early on the second day of the OAU conference, General Gowon, a former chairman of the organization, prepared himself for the usual diplomatic push and pull of the summits. On his way to the Nile Mansion's conference hall, Zaire's General Mobutu delayed him for about half an hour, discussing the Angolan situation. Thereafter, Gowon entered the hall. Mr. Mbu of UNESCO was delivering a speech at the time. Ugandan President Idi Amin then met with Gowon, reportedly read the notes, and in response to an inquiry from Amin, said the situation would become clearer as the day wore on. Apparently, this initial note did not specify the identity of the radio announcer in Lagos. Privately, Gowon was still thinking Colonel Garba was on his side, and that no coup would succeed without fierce resistance from the elite brigade of guards. He was wrong. After departing from the conference hall, Gowon spent the rest of the day quietly. Cameroon's President Ayijo had sought his audience to commiserate and get an update on the situation. Ayijo, who was reportedly shattered by the developments, was particularly astonished by Gariba's involvement. Other African leaders like Generals Jaffa Numeri of Sudan and Idi Amin of Uganda also called on Gowon to express support. By nightfall in Kampala, therefore, Gowon knew that Murtala Muhammad and Joe Gariba were definitely involved. Who were the others, he wondered. When word came that Brigadier Theophilos Yakubu Danjuma, one of those he had counted on for support, had been appointed chief of the army in the new dispensation, Gowon was crushed. But most of the shock would come when the full list of members of the Supreme Military Council and new state governors was released the next day. Nevertheless, General Gowon, far away in Kampala, had friends. Many offers of residence came to him in Kampala for Loum in Togo. Since Gowon was financially broke, teary-eyed members of the Nigerian delegation, along with staffers of the Nigerian Air Commission in Kampala, donated £3,000 to enabling it begin a new life. It was flown to Loum via Garoua in Cameroon aboard President Idi Amin's executive jet. Part of the flight passed through Nigerian airspace, and Gowon took the opportunity to transmit a radio message reaffirming loyalty to and support for Brigadier Murtala Muhammad's new regime. Although offered permanent domicile in Togo, he chose to join his family in the United Kingdom. He received an additional £10,000 sterling donation from General Ayadima of Togo. On the question of leadership, there is no one leadership style for all seasons. What some call Gowon's prevarication of a forgiving nature is precisely the kind of cautious approach culture's approach to vexatious issues in a complex country that is sometimes required. But there is also a season for decisiveness and even aggression, as Gowon showed at key junctures when the corporate integrity of the country was threatened. Nevertheless, as personal honesty, decency, and integrity were concerned, one must emphasize that General Gowon was second to none as a military officer and a Nigerian leader. He may have equals, but certainly no superiors on this score. And that counts for a lot, considering just how easily he could have become a multimillionaire if he had wanted to be one, and just how wealthy some of those subsequently entrusted with the leadership of the country at one time or the other have become. In the 9 years gone at the Nigeria's head of state, he had not built himself a single house, inside or outside the country, nor did he steal one kubo of government money. In time to come, these will stand in stark contrast to the conduct of and personal fortunes of most of those who conspired to remove him from office or benefited from it. Unlike some of those who served under him, General Yakubu Gowon's total savings throughout his service years, as well as his years as Nigeria's military head of state, was N75,000, all of which was inside Nigeria. If you enjoyed the video, don't hesitate to like and share it with your friends. You can subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to receive the latest videos as they drop. Also, don't miss our next video.